All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. I've always said one of the most important things to do is know how the markets are doing, because really your stocks are only as good as the markets act. So we will be using the major market tickers themselves, as well as 4 ETFs like QQQ that you see on the screen for today's video. So what are we going to do? Look, we're going to do the same thing we always do, right? We'll look at the daily and the weekly to see how it's looking short term. We have our 5 moving average lines. There's only one, not these. So this horizontal support and resistance line that I do manually draw. And then when we're done up here, we will use the MACD and the RSI to finish it off. So look, I've said it on the last video, and really it's been the story for almost a month at least, right? The NASDAQ has been doing really poorly. The SP 500 has kind of been right in the middle. And then the Dow Jones has been doing really well. And for me, that's not a good thing, right? They literally are doing a complete opposite of each other. There aren't even two that are doing the same thing, right? So I don't like that, and I believe they're all going to decide to do the same thing. Either the two on the bottom will turn up or the two on the top will turn down. I'll be honest, after today's trading, it kind of seems like things will be moving down a little bit. That said, I talked about it being a real horizontal amount of trading until something big happens, and I'm still sticking with that. I'll be pessimistic on this video, but we're still a little bit away from that market crash fear that I think everyone has in the back of their head, right? So all that said, let's get into the specifics. So the first one here is QQQ, and I'll be jumping back and forth with the NASDAQ. So look, I made this video on the 6th last time, so just before Monday's trading. And the last 3 days really, it's funny, right? So when I last made this video, we talked about there being a little curve here, right? And that was actually reflected on, I think, all 4 of the ETFs, all 3 of the majors that we normally review. So the cool thing was they all got their follow through up, right? What really came yesterday was the big day, right? Obviously today was the big day, but yesterday is really important. Look, I am a technical trader who cares about line breaks, but I'm very aware of one candle shape. It's the doji. Okay, it's this guy right here. It looks like a spinning top, right? Basically, there were moments where someone thought this thing was going to fly. It was going to break both of these and start heading to the 50, right? This person bought right here, definitely lost some good money when it closed here. There were also people that thought this thing was about to crash, right? And they were selling as people were buying, selling as people, and then someone bought right here and it started working its way back up, right? So someone did really well, someone did really poorly. Overall, not a lot happened, right? Beginning to end of the day. This really signifies uncertainty, and it's always magnified when you're near a resistance, right? So this literally would have hit and broken or hit and slapped. Couldn't decide yesterday. Today we decided. So hopefully I explained that well. But again, when you see the doji, you generally get your answer the next day. Okay, good. So from there, where are we? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still 7 days under the 8, right? I know this looked really nice, but all we're doing is trading under the 8, right? A little bit of an up, but ultimately this is starting to go worse than it was. And it might be bad enough to bring the others down, right? Which is actually what we will be seeing as we go across. But real quick, this is QQQ. I want to jump to the actual NASDAQ itself. Again, look, the purple 200 is right here. The blue 100 is right here. Red 50, orange 20, and then you see the slant there on the 8, right? Real quick, QQQ. The exact same line setup, right? So that is why these are interchangeable. The thing is, this one literally costs 200 and change versus the NASDAQ costing like 10,000 and change, right? So, but again, exact same story. Actually a tighter doji, but still a doji. And then that hard drop, and look, ugly MACD, ugly RSI, QQQ. Ugly MACD, ugly RSI, right? So not looking good on the daily. And really not looking good on the weekly either, right? It's just it wanted to make a break of both the 200 and the 8. Definitely did not the last 2 weeks, right? And ultimately, this meant nothing to us because we still needed one more, right? Obviously, this was good week over week for the 200 break. However, we're now battling the 8, right? So I now need that extra 8 confirmation, right? So, and again, this is why I say it's hard to get through the clusters because there's so many resistances so tight. The safest thing to do is just wait till you're over it and then start getting that easy trading, right? So, but we're far from that for now. So, again, overall, QQQ is not looking good. The question just becomes, is it going to be bad enough to bring the others down? Or are we just kind of letting these four moving averages, oh shit, sorry, five, all five are right here. Are we letting the 5 on the daily kind of get a little tighter and do a little bit more horizontal, right? Or hey, is it only going to be these three and the right? I think the horizontal clusters still need to break themselves out. Okay, so again, NASDAQ was the worst. Oh no, I'm not going to go to SP 500. NASDAQ was the worst. SP 500's been in the middle, and SPY, which basically is the SP 500, is reflected of that, right? So look, obviously there's some bad stuff here, but you can at least see it was a little better than the NASDAQ, right? We still see that same curve, right? We still see the same 2 good days. We still see that same doji. This doji actually broke through both of them, right? But again, this broke the 50, not the 8. This was your confirmation of the 50, but hey, where's my confirmation number 2 for the 8? It didn't happen. It actually said we're losing all of them in one quick swoop, right? We lose the 8, the 50, and the 20. The bad thing is if we get confirmation down here, we might keep going down, right? So that would be a real bad confirmation to get. More so, again, ugly MACD, ugly RSI. I'm a little pessimistic here, right? And again, you have the 100 here, you have the 8, 50, and 20. This is the SPY at $374. And then the actual SP 500 itself to the penny, not to the penny, but like 100 up here, 1, 2, 3 in the exact same pattern. This is just $3,700 instead of $370, right? But again, same bad MACD, same bad RSI, SP 500. Look, on the weekly doesn't scream bad, but it definitely did this, right? It bounced here, came here, now coming here. This is starting to move horizontal in this 3-line cluster on the weekly, right? So that just goes back to what I'm expecting. The bad thing would be falling out of this 200, right? Because again, death line is right here on the NASDAQ. And again, because I don't have it on QQQ, I actually should probably do that. On the NASDAQ, we're already under the death line, right? So still need to bring SP 500 under it and still need to bring Dow Jones under it, right? But again, SPY looks exactly like the S&P 500. Now we're on the weekly, same thing, right? We're now moving in this horizontal between the 20, the 8, and the 200. Last thing we want to do is lose this 200, right? So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good analysis of this. And again, what looks to be scary is we're now technically under all 5. And to me, it screams we're coming either here or here, right? So the only thing that might save us is the DIA. So look, the DIA, again, should easily scream this has been doing better, right? NASDAQ, QQQ could never get over the 50. S&P 500, SPY was basically able to get around the 50 and the 100, but not quite the 100. The DIA and the Dow Jones literally break and ride this 200 pretty horizontally, right? So I think this is a good view. Again, this is the DIA at $325. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the DJ30, at $32,000. But again, same thing, same break up, same horizontal ride, and really same loss of our two moving averages. So let me go back to the DIA and zoom in, right? That's not good to see, right? Clearly, it was struggling to get over the 200. Actually seemed like the last 4 days were going to kill it. And really, this would have faked most people out. If you were only looking at the Dow Jones, if you were only looking at the DIA, and you didn't see the doji on the S&P 500 and you didn't see the doji on the NASDAQ, I think a lot of people would have just blindly loved this and assumed going up, right? And again, it doesn't seem like a big thing when you lose 2%, right? But generally speaking, this is a fake out right here, and it's sad. And it goes back to why it's important to look at all of these together, right? They all should be doing the same thing. When they're not, it's that much harder, and you need to look at more and more clues. I promise you that. So, but again, look, they're all doing that curve and what seems like a fail. And again, this is on the top of this horizontal. Sorry. So this right here is the top of the 5 lines, right? NASDAQ is definitely at the bottom, and then SP 500's in the middle. It's just hilarious. But again, this is the DIA right on the top. This is the SPY. Honestly, it's now lost it, right? But it's a little more in the middle. Where's the 200 at? I have to zoom out. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not in a great position, but it's at least kind of still sitting in this thing, for lack of words. It's not really the nicest picture. No, not QQC, QQQ. And this, again, isn't even in the cluster, right? So, again, just using all the clues we can. DIA, assumingly, is going to come down to this. If I had to get, do I have no line? I just don't have a lot of lines here, but yeah, honestly, right now it just seems like 315 seems very realistic. 310 might be even more realistic, and then if 310 is lost, we're coming down here to this 290, 280 number, right? So, yeah. The last on this list is the IWM. I said I was going to find out what the Russell actually is, but I don't know what it is, which sucks. So we'll try to see if I can find it. But nonetheless, what's happening here? Look, this is almost a perfect cluster. Definitely just lost the cluster, right? And we said that the Russell was doing a little bit better than the S&P. Obviously, they both kind of did the same thing, right? But this was just a little bit better in terms of getting over that 100, if I'm not mistaken, because again, looking at SPY, yeah, this wasn't able to get over the 100 on the daily. So that's at least why I like the Russell as of last week. But again, this is now looking like it's losing this cluster. And the fact that this is a tighter cluster and it seems like it's lost, man, I'm worried we're coming here. Maybe around this 170, there could be some sort of support. I don't know if this guy's going to be strong enough. It almost lines up with this guy right here, so maybe 170 might save. But again, yeah, 164 kind of looks realistic on the Russell. Again, look, kind of what this is actually a little bit better review of what I was trying to say for the S&P 500. But the Dow Jones is up here, the NASDAQ is well under. The Russell is at least kind of in the middle, and really the S&P seems to be a little lower. It seems to be a little bit more on this side, right? But again, just way too different to feel comfortable. So overall, I see us going down the next few days. I don't know if we're going to crash just yet. It kind of doesn't seem like it. I think we're still moving horizontally until something really big happens, right? And ultimately, I think that's going to come down to a lot of these weekly moving averages. So one more just quick review on the weeklies. So QQQ, we're under all 5. That's real bad. And the question is this going to be strong enough to bring them all under all of them, right? Okay. From there, the DIA is yes, the Dow Jones is the strongest, but it definitely couldn't get out of it, and it kind of seems like it wants to kind of make its way down either maybe into the middle, into the little bit lower than the middle, or the bottom, right? So will this maybe bounce off the 200 and work its way back up and try to bring the rest, or is this going to come down, right? And then sitting pretty much in the middle was IWM. Again, on the weekly, of the 5, right? These are all 5. It's kind of here. I would actually say it's a little bit lower than the middle, right? Because like this would be the middle, obviously. So a little bit worse than middle. And then from there, also just kind of sitting at least better than, what is it called? QQQ, but a little bit worse than this was SPY, right? Actually, I don't know if maybe I take that back. Maybe again, it's still SPY and IWM, I think, are a little bit interchangeable, but ultimately, Dow Jones is the best, NASDAQ's the worst. They all seem to be turning. The question is, how much will they turn? Probably around here, if I had to guess. I don't see this going much lower than 360 before it maybe does the next bounce up. You know what I mean? So, yeah, a little too many words towards the end. I wish I said that cleaner, but I hope you got the point. I hope you're learning. And hey, I love the comments and the subscription so much. I can't believe how close I am to 200. Hey, have a great one.